I'm just going to start a new family to bring this into. So I'm just going to go over to families and new. And we're just going to grab a generic model family. We don't really need a structural framing family because it's not going to move. You're just bringing a sort of dead piece in from Rhino. So if you come down to just the regular generic model RFT and click open, it'll open up a blank file. And then you can come in and go to your insert tab, right? And you can import CAD. So if you go to the import CAD and you go to your 3DM, make sure it's set on 3DM, and you grab your beam, right? And it's going to bring it in origin to origin, so it's going to match 0, 0. And you click open and it brings that guy in, right? So if I go to my front elevation, that's kind of what it looks like. And I mean, center it. So what I would do is make sure that the center is centered on this middle reference plane, and then come in and make sure the top of this is on the reference level. So I'm just going to pick it and go to move and pick it and move it. So just move it into place to where it kind of looks like that. And if I look at it in 3D, right, and I go to shaded, that's what it looks like, right? So you can see the different colors coming through from the layers. So now what I want to do in this particular thing is two things. I want to rename the generic materials that they've put on this, and then I also want to change the category. So first I'm going to rename the materials. So I'm going to go to my manage and materials, and if you go to that and scroll down to the RGBs, you're going to see the RGB colors, right? They come in, the materials come in as colors. So this red one would be, if I rename it, I'll just call it beam structure, right? Because that's the main part of the beam. And then if I scroll back down, this is actually the beam cable, right? And then the final one, I'll just call it the beam post. All right. So now if I go up to the top, I've got my cable, my post, and my structure. And then what I've got to do, and I can do this here or in the project, is I want to change it from just the colors to something else. So let's do the beam and the cable first. So you have got to leave these materials applied to this. You can't pick another one and apply it. So what you have to do is first come to your graphics and use render appearance for shading. Then go back to your appearance, and what we're going to do is flip out the asset. So we're going to change the appearance asset out. So by clicking on this guy, it'll bring up another dialog box, and you can do a search. So like if I wanted to do steel, right, it'll show me all the different steel assets that there are. So I'm just going to come in and grab, how about steel plate? So let me pull this all the way over here. So if I go to steel plate, you'll see this little replace the current asset in the editor with this asset. So if I click on that, you'll see this change over here. And if I close this, you'll see it updates the beam post to this asset. So let's say you wanted it to be brown. So I'll just take this and take the image fade to, let's say, 40%. Right, and then I'm going to come in here and pick one of my empty boxes and maybe come over here and get a dark brown, right? Like a dark, maybe more red brown, right? And then I'm just going to add that to that, right? And click OK. So now we've got kind of a dark brown. And I want the beam cable to be that same. And unfortunately, I can't just copy these settings. So if I go to the beam cable, I can do the same thing. Replace the asset, go to steel, and I know it's plate, so I could go to steel plate and flip that, replace that asset, and it'll do the same thing. Close that, change this to 40, and then go get the color that I saved, and now those two will be the same. And then the beam structure will make this a wood. So again, changing the asset, and I'll just type in wood up here, see what it come up with. I usually like the lighter woods. I don't know, you can kind of maple, oak, pine. It's kind of up to you what to start with. I'll just come up here and grab the ash or bamboo light, maybe. Anyway, you can start with what you want. I'll go to the bamboo light and switch it out, and you'll see it over here. I don't like that very much. Let's try the ash door and see what that looks like. Ugh, none of these are really great. So if I go to birch, it's really dark. Anyway, you can see that sometimes it's a little difficult to get anything that will work really great. What does the maple look like? The maple, let's try the maple. That one seems like it might work. So you can see it. So now I get rid of that. And then this one is actually a template, so I don't have the ability to mess with the color of it, but I'm going to change it out of the template immediately by right clicking and duplicating as generic. And so it'll go through and change that so I can actually image fade it, right, and just make it lighter. And I'll click on that image. And 3 feet by 1'6" seems to be reasonable. Maybe 2'6" here. You have to put in 2'6" in this one. It's the only place. I don't know why they program this completely differently. And then click done. If it does have a bump map in it, you would have to go in and change that to the same 2'6", so it matches up. I don't know what the reflectivity is. Maybe just get rid of that. And then click OK. And let's go to textures, and you can sort of see, right, the textures on that. And if I go back to my materials, just make sure that in the graphics you're using render appearance, right? I didn't do that, and so now if I go to shaded, it will give the color of the. So now I'm still in the family, right? You can see I didn't do it to my cable either. So again, if you go to the cable, use render appearance, and it'll do that. All right. So the next thing I want to do is go in and change the category. And to do that, you go to the create, and there is a family category and parameters, and just click on that. And instead of generic models, just scroll down and pick structural framing and click OK. All right, so now save it. So I'm going to save this guy, and I'll give it a name, beam. Right. All right, so now we're ready to go into the project, and I'll do that in just a second.